Now the next step is adding the tag helper class. Just to remind you what we're trying to accomplish, we're creating right now the control that will do the pagination here. This is how it should look like in the end. So I'm gonna close this. We're gonna be creating a new folder called infrastructure. So you're gonna add new folder, and that's infrastructure. In this folder we'll store our new tag helper class, which will be called page link tag helper. So I'm gonna right click on the folder, I'm gonna add a class, and the name will be page link tag helper. I'm gonna add that. Now this class will be a bit messy and we're gonna be using a lot of namespace. I'm not gonna get into a lot of details here because we're gonna see better how to create tag helpers in a future class. So tag helper inherits from the tag helper class, and we're gonna create first of all a private member that we're gonna call URL help factory. This is the type that will help us to create the URLs to do the paging. So next here we're gonna create the constructor of this class. So we're gonna say public, and then the constructor has the same name as the class, and we're gonna have as a parameter we're gonna have an IURL helper factory, which we're gonna be calling helper factory with lowercase h. And with this, whenever we create this page helper, we're gonna create also the helper factory, and we're gonna set the private here to this parameter that we are sending over. So again, just keep in mind for now that this is what will help us to create the URLs for the paging. Next, we're gonna be declaring a property called view context. This property will hold the current HTTP context, where we're gonna have access to the information about the current URL as well as the current HTTP context. But to do that, we have to decorate this property with two decorations. We have to add view context. So with this decoration, this view context will get automatically the context of the view, and HTML attribute not bound will not require a HTML attribute called view context. This will be an attribute from a tag helper, but it's not an attribute that we have to specify in the HTML. Now we're going to create two additional attributes here. These attributes, they will be tied to properties defined in the HTML. First one is page model. Page model will be the view model that we're going to be providing to the page link tag helper, which is coming from the model that we have, the view model that we have just created, the paging info, which we have created in the previous video. Now the next one is the page action. The page action will store which action, which controller action will be linked to the paging link. And you're gonna see that in action in a second. Next, we're gonna set up a method. We're gonna override a method called process, which is the method that gets called right before the tag helper gets rendered inside the view. So we're gonna override that. And here is where we're gonna be creating the div, we're gonna be creating the link tags, we're gonna be building our actual control, the HTML of our actual control. It's a bit of a messy code, but let's go slowly here. So the first parameter is the context that the view is running at. And then the second one is the output HTML, the actual content that will be the output of this tag helper. So first we're gonna create a URL helper using the helper factory that we have declared here. And this will allow us to have access to the current URL of that view, of that page. Next, we're gonna use a tag builder to build our div tag. So we're gonna have a div tag. Inside the div, we're gonna have all the pages, all the link to the different pages. And then after that, we're gonna have a loop. We're gonna loop through the total pages of the model. So we have the page model, which has the page info. And as we know, page info has total pages. So we're gonna go from page 1 up to the total number of pages, and we're gonna produce our links here. We're gonna create another tag builder. This time around, we're gonna be creating a link tag, which is the page link. And then we're gonna set up the href of this link. So let's have a look how this gets set up. So for the tag that we have just created, the a tag, the link tag, we're gonna modify the attribute href, which is the URL that the link points to. We're gonna be using our URL helper that we created here, and we're gonna give to it the action that we have here as a property, and we're gonna send the page, the product page number. So we're gonna go from 1, let's say, if there are 3 pages, you're gonna go first loop, page 1, and then page 2, and then page 3. Now, our tag will show visually, it will show the number 1, the number 2, number 3. That's the reason why we are calling tag again. The inner HTML is the actual text that shows in the link. And the text will be 1, 2, 3 for the pages. So we are appending, we are adding to the inner HTML of the a tag the number of the page, and we're converting that to string. So again, we can have the character 1, character 2, character 3, and so on. After that, we're gonna have to add this, our new tag, our a tag, to our div. So now we are calling our div, and we are adding to its inside, to its HTML, we are adding the new tag that we have just created. And then after the loop, we're gonna add our results to the output content. And that's how we do it. Now we have to go to our view _view imports. And then from here, for us to be able to use the page info, we have to add another namespace, which is the view models that we created page info inside. And we also have to add our new tag helper. We have to add a reference so we can use our new tag helper, which is under sports infrastructure, and we are putting a wildcard here. So it gets everything inside, all the tag helpers inside infrastructure folder. There's one more thing that we have to do with the page link tag helper, which is we have to add a decoration here. We have to say which HTML tag this tag helper refers to. Well, it refers to a div, so we have to use HTML target element. It's targeting divs, but not all divs, only divs that have attributes that are called page model. So they have to have the page model attributes for this tag helper to be applied to.